I wanted to start Sipple first and foremost as a community. No matter what your why is, you drink alcohol still, you're taking a night off, a week off, a month off, a year off, a lifetime. That's all cool. That's good. Like, you don't have to explain yourself. You're welcome. It doesn't matter if you still drink, you don't drink. It's an all-inclusive community and there's no judgment.
My name is Linda Laurel, and I'm asking you to have the courage to listen with an open mind to all of our voices, because our voices matter. This episode is brought to you by BMW of West Houston.
Hi, this is Robert Ory, the 7-time NBA champ, also known as Big Shot Bob. BMW of West Houston has provided me and my family with the best service and the best experience for years. BMW has been there for me and my family for years, so much so that it has convinced my wife to switch over from a former brand to BMW, and she loves it. BMW has been the car to drive. It is the ultimate driving experience.
Hey everybody, it's Linda Laurel. Thank you so much for joining us for this new edition of our Voices Matter podcast. You know, one of the things that I love most about doing this podcast is the opportunity to meet people from all walks of life and share their stories. Quite often, as is the case in today's episode, I'm actually hearing the full backstory of our guests just as you are. I prefer not to delve into the details too much in advance because then it becomes a surprise for all of us and I just never know where the conversation is going to take us. And when it takes us by surprise, that's what I like to say is where the pure gold is. And boy, is there a lot of gold in this one. My guest today is Danny Frounfelkner, the founder and co-owner of Sipple, the first non-alcoholic bottle shop in Texas. He describes himself as a storyteller and a beverage nerd and a disruptor. And when I say storyteller, he's got quite the story to tell of his own. And here it is. Let's get to it. Danny, welcome to our Voices Matter podcast. I have really been looking forward to this.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this so much too.
So I have to share with our audience how this all came about. So my daughter and I went into your store, Sipple, in Rice Village area of Houston, non-alcoholic store. And you were there and you kind of walked us through everything. I mean, you just gave us the most incredible personalized tour of everything in the shop. And then we got to talking. And then I look at you and I say, I really need to have you on my podcast. And now here we are. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, I loved it. You know, I think it's just synchronous, right? It's like kismet, how things happen. And I'm not at the shop too much anymore. You know, like we launched the shop almost a year ago and I'm just there sometimes. And you guys just came in on a day I was there. I've been traveling a lot this summer, but it was amazing to meet you and your daughter and just kind of walk you through the store. And yeah, non-alcoholic bottle shop, crazy concept. You know, we're the first and only in Texas, which I thought by the end of this, I feel like by the end of this year, there was going to be one in Austin or something, which I feel like still might happen. But we're really excited and grateful that, you know, we're the first, but we brought this to Texas, but also Houston. Let's be real. Like Austin I love Austin. I used to live there, but they get so much love, you know, and there's Dallas, like Houston kind of just like, everyone's like, why? Like Houston needs that love to be the first and to be kind of that beacon, you know?
I agree. I could not agree with you more. Well, and I want to hear the whole backstory of Sipple and how it all got started. But first, I want to hear your personal backstory. Tell us a little bit about how and where you grew up and what this journey has been like to lead you to the point where you've launched this company.
For sure. And actually my personal and professional kind of like intersect, and that's where Sipple came. So it's a good connection segue. So I grew up in Northern California by Napa Valley, old Napa area. You know, grew up in the country, by the country, and it's absolutely beautiful. But growing up, I was like, man, this place sucks. Like, it's just like, there's nothing to do here. Like, it's just like hills and stuff. And then got in my 20s and I was like, oh, wow. Like I grew up in one of the most beautiful parts of the world. And now I really appreciated it. You know, but growing up there was family owned like vineyards, like 1 mile, 2 miles from my house, and apple orchards. And my family's not in the wine business. Otherwise, I probably never would have left. But it was very infectious at a young age to see like, you know, grapevines and apple orchards, and they can take these and make beverages. I didn't understand alcohol at that point, but I was like, wow, this is like very fascinating. So I became a beverage nerd at a very young age. um, and got into fermentation. And then I was a beverage that led me to study wine for like 9 years, I believe. Well, I had a different career. I actually was a hairstylist. I was a hairstylist for 9 years. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. And I
Where did
did
that
that.
come from?
Yeah. So I dropped out of college. I went to college for 3 years. It just didn't align with my soul. And I just felt like I wanted to do something else. Obviously my family, my dad wasn't happy about that. But I felt this call to do something where I could travel, and I had friends in hair school, and I was always creative and stuff. So, and that allowed me to study wine, but also like travel. Because here's the thing, you can travel anywhere in the world. People need their hair done. So it allowed me to go different places. Mm-hmm. So I studied wine for 9 years and then got into like wine and hospitality, beverage, like full time. Was a beverage director sommelier for 10 years, a bunch of my career. I'm actually in Houston, worked for some top restaurant groups in Houston, anywhere from one restaurant to like 5 at a time. Wine list, 30 bottle wine list, 300 bottle wine list, cocktail list. Love that. Learned so much. Also worked in distribution, so like I worked with the small guys and big guys and stuff and learned how that whole world works. It's probably one of the reasons why I'm the anti-pay to play person. Like I don't believe in, big money, big alcohol, big tobacco, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. I believe in equal representation and equal opportunity. So for me, it doesn't matter if a brand is a month old or 10 years old, you still get the same love from me and the same attention.
Yeah.
And then I also produced. I worked and collaborated and did harvest with 4 different wineries in Napa and 5 different wineries in Italy. And then I was the director of operations for City Orchard Cidery and Brewery in Houston. So I actually launched that company. I developed 80% of their ciders at the time. They won gold and silver last year, which was an amazing thing to see. Helped with their branding, their labeling. I launched their tap room, distribution, all those things. So my personal life, I've always been in beverage and really alcohol. That's really what I've been around. Mm-hmm. But I realized as well, I really didn't really care about alcohol. It was really the stories and the flavor profiles. And personally, I've had a lot of opportunities in beverage and travel and see the world, soak up the culture. And I hit my lowest of lows winter 2019. Very lost, was really struggling, depressed. And I knew I needed a change. And I knew that alcohol for me was a pinpoint of that. I wasn't an alcoholic. Like I've drank in my life, not drank in my life. I wasn't dependent upon it, but working in alcohol for so long, having wine breath at 10 a.m. most days, having like stained red lips throughout the day. And it just became all consuming for me and affected all areas of my life. I have 3 young kids. So my relationship with my kids, with my wife, business, and it wasn't serving me anymore. So I had to really take a hard, long look at myself in the mirror and say, what do I want and need in my life? And what do I don't want? And so still being in the alcohol world, that was hard, but I cut back mindfully little by little. And then I started to realize, I was like, whoa, better sleep, higher functioning, more patient with myself and my kids and things. I was like, so I started to see the benefits. And I did also what led me to is I'm a very spiritual person. And I did my first transformative medicine journey before the pandemic hit. And that really helped start to change my mind and rewire my mind about things. So I really stopped drinking literally. It was like less than a month before the pandemic hit in March 2020. Mm-hmm. That was a blessing. The universe was telling me things before, to cut back. But if I didn't really cut back and stop drinking before the pandemic, I probably would have went a lot of the ways my colleagues and friends down the deep, dark rabbit hole and drank more during the pandemic. So it really saved my life. I don't know if I would be here if I didn't cut back drinking. And
wait a minute. When you say that you don't know if you would be here if you hadn't cut back drinking, why? Why do you say that?
Yeah. So, I've battled depression throughout my life. I come from a family that has battled it as well. And, I think, what was it? I was in college. I think it was sophomore year of college, very lost, like really didn't know where I wanted to go in life. I also got my first like sleeve of tattoos when I was 19. And at that time, that was 2001. So there wasn't a lot of kids at that time that had a lot of tattoos. And so my family struggled with that. I struggled with that with identity, right? And at that time, it was like, oh, if you have a lot of tattoos, like you're a drug dealer or you're a tattoo artist and stuff. But I never saw myself fitting in the 9-to-5 job, the cubicle. Like that was never me. And I think what really changed my perception was I was 13 years old on the Bay Bridge going to like a San Francisco Giants game or something in traffic. And I remember seeing this gentleman in this amazing, like, I don't know, it was a Mercedes, a BMW, like just like so fleshed out, beautiful car. He was in a convertible. So hot day, he rolls down the top, and I see on the back sticker, it says Pepperdine University Law, like all these things. So I was like, okay, this guy's a lawyer, obviously. And it was so hot, he took off his shirt, he left his tank top on, and I could see that he had a full Japanese suit, like he was tattooed. You didn't know. And that really changed my perception on like who has tattoos and who doesn't in society. And so during that time, I had tattoos, and I struggled with society and with my family. And I was very lost. I was very depressed, and I was suicidal. And I went to counseling in college, and it was helpful, but I was like, this is why I'm feeling this way. This is why I think I'm feeling this way. And this is why I think what I should do. And they were like, yes, yes, yes. I was like, so why? Thank you, but I don't need to be here. So it was a really tough time going through that. And I think different parts of my life, depression has crept up. And I would say fall, winter 2019, it was really hard. That's where I was probably the most lost in my life and suicidal and very scared and lost. My wife and we were separated. I was not living at home. My family's not here. I really didn't have anyone at all. And it was a very big struggle. And honestly, the only reason why I didn't take my life was my kids. That was the only thing that kept me going at that time. And that's why I knew I needed a change. And alcohol was one of those things I needed to kick out of my life to get more clarity, which I achieved.
Which you did. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I didn't quit drinking before the pandemic, like I said, I don't think I would have been here. It probably would have led me down a really dark path that I probably wouldn't have been able to get out of.
Well, first of all, I'm really, really glad you're still here. And secondly, I commend you for being so open and honest and vulnerable.
Thank you.
And sharing what you've gone through, because it's so easy for us to look, from the outside looking in. Oh, look at you, you're traveling around. You've got this great career. You've started this awesome new business. You're getting all this press, yada, yada, and there's always a backstory. There's always something there that drives us. And one of the things that, that we try to do on this podcast is to have conversations like this where we're really talking about our humanity and, what it is that makes us tick. And, everybody's got something going on. And so I guess my question now is, when you were looking at that period of your life and you're thinking, okay, this is not working, something's wrong, and I need to figure out what it is, and I need to make some changes. What was it about your relationship with alcohol that led you to believe that that was the place to start?
Yeah, great question. I grew up in a house where, I saw my dad using alcohol as an escape, right? A coping mechanism. And it was a numbing tool. So obviously conditioning, right? Conditioning is real strong. Yeah, we have our DNA and we have our coding, but also like how we grow up, it affects our children, parenting. So I saw that and I thought that was acceptable. That was okay. So that's what I was doing subconsciously, always using alcohol to just escape from the world and my problems. Obviously, it made my problems a lot worse. Those highs became lower and the lows became even lower, right, in my life. So it was really reaching for alcohol just trying to get by and blinding myself and numbing all the feelings and things I had going on. But it just left me more lost and empty than anything, where I got to a point where I had to change. And I agree with you. I love this podcast because people think, white picket fences or the grass is greener, and it's not. We all have a story and we all battle. And I've been saying it for a while. Vulnerability is a superpower. Vulnerability is a strength. And the more that we use our voice and share, people find that they're not alone. So that's something I really want to do with Sipple and beyond, is letting people know, like, we all have struggles. It's not a competition. We all have things going on in our lives and stuff. And sometimes, there's things to share and there's things not to share. But also we should share our triumphs, but also our lows and our discoveries and our failures, because if you love, you can't fail with love, right? You can always move forward and learn.
Absolutely.
So I encourage all people to just be vulnerable and share their stories. And that's why I am so open. Sometimes that's too much for people, and that's okay. But, I want, because if I reach that one person out there that goes, oh my God, like, I relate to this, I'm not alone. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
One of the things that you have written on your website, and I've seen it in a lot of the literature and this other articles and, other press that you've gotten, you say there's no judgment here. And I love that. For whatever reason you have chosen to change your relationship with alcohol and either completely move away from it or take incremental steps or whatever it is, whatever your why, there's no judgment here. So talk to me about that, why that's so important for you to put out there.
For sure, because we're all on our own journeys at different times. And once again, it's not competitive. And I think, God, in this social media world we live in, the dangerous, I call it the dangerous game of comparison, is real. And it's something I'm very aware for my kids as they grow older. And we compare ourselves to we're on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is, and we're seeing people, and it's just so, it's one of those things where we have to be real that we're all on our own journeys. And for us, I wanted to start Sipple first and foremost as a community. No matter what your why is, you drink alcohol still, you're taking a night off, a week off, a month off, a year off, a lifetime. That's all cool. That's good. You don't have to explain yourself. You're welcome. It doesn't matter if you still drink, you don't drink. It's an all-inclusive community, and there's no judgment. If you want to talk about your journey, some people come in and they do because maybe they feel like they don't have anyone to talk to. Okay. I've heard some pretty intense personal stories.
I'll bet you have.
And I advise them sometimes to seek out, some actual professional help, or hey, check out these resources. You know what I mean? I think you could find that you're not alone, right? You're not alone in there. And then some people are more, keep it close to their chest, but we want people to feel welcome. We want people to feel like they can be themselves and feel proud and to be themselves and be open about if they don't drink or want to drink less, because there is a lot of societal pressure to drink alcohol, and we're trying to change that.
Yes.
Because I think about, your career, I'm sure you went to so many happy hours and dinners and work functions, and there's alcohol, right? You think about it, there's always some kind of drink. You think about holidays, there's alcohol tied to every holiday for whatever reason.
To everything. There's alcohol is connected to everything. And I'm so glad that you made this point. So as I mentioned before, Lindsay, my daughter, and I went into the store together, and she's the one who introduced me to Sipple. And she's like, Mom, I'm going to stop drinking. And I really am just trying to be really, really healthy. And I've been doing my research. And then she shared something that I did not know until we were, I think, in your store talking. And she said that, a year or two ago, when she had done a dry January, I think she went an entire year where she was not drinking, and her friendships changed. There were people in her friend circle that judged her because she wasn't drinking and she wasn't looked at as being fun, quote unquote. Yeah. And that's crazy, so basically she was being othered because she was not conforming to the societal norm of, hey, let's go out and go to a bar and have a drink or get drunk or whatever it is. And it changed everything. And that was so mind blowing to me. So I love what you're doing with your community.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. It's true. When she said that to me, it really resonated with me deeply because I went through the same thing, and I know so many other people that do, where you feel like pressured to drink, or not even to tell people like, hey, I'm not drinking anymore, or people, or I'm cutting back. And then you go out and you make it look like you're drinking alcohol because you're trying to not get into that conversation.
That's
And I've,
crazy.
and I've been
Yeah.
telling people, I'm like, it's cool to not drink now or to drink less. And we need to promote that. That's healthy. That's for your mental health. If you're doing these things for that reasons, we should applaud that and support that. And I lost friendships too. And what I've realized, it's really not about me. It's about them. And when someone like your daughter, when she's not drinking, I think I said this to her when she was in the shop, it's really about like, if the friends that she lost, it's because it's their journey, and she's probably hitting a sensitive like topic that they probably know they need to not drink or to drink less. So they make it about them and they project.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, we're trying to change that narrative of why aren't you drinking? Like I was saying, you've been at all these work functions or with friends. And if you don't have a drink that looks adult or alcoholic, like if you do, it's like they pass it by. It's like subconscious. And they're like, oh, Linda, how's work? How's life? How are the kids? Like, but if you don't, it's all of a sudden like, wait. What's going on, Linda? Are you not drinking?
Why are you drinking?
Yeah. Are you sick? Are you an alcoholic? And then the one question you should never ask a woman is, are you pregnant? Like, it's just like never, like, just don't. Like, it's none of your business because you don't know their story. And I've seen that question end in tears so much. And that is so personal. You know what I mean? Like, just be supportive. So we're trying to change it to why aren't you drinking to what are you drinking? It's a simple mindset shift where it's a positive, where when you come in the shop, it's like, cool, like, what do you like to drink? We don't bring up alcohol. We don't ask you if you drink because it's none of our business. We're here to support. And then we take it a step farther and we trademark this. And we say, what are you drinking today for tomorrow? So we get a little bit more mindful with your health about like, okay, we're conscious about what we're putting in our bodies for food. We saw that renaissance. What about beverages and liquids, right? Like, what are we doing, putting in our body that helps us with our mental health, that supports our mental health, but also just our health, our physical health, our gut, because our gut health is responsible for so much of our overall health. And these are things that are not talked about. And so we're trying to shine a light, and we're just really trying to shift the narrative. And that's something I will continue to do on podcasts, talking panels, our events, and we'll continue to do more and more, because we all have a voice and we should use it. And we should feel free and empowered just to be us and to just be. And if we choose not to drink or to drink less, that is a monumental choice that your daughter made, that people make. And that takes bravery and courage in society to go against the norm and swim up the river and say, you know what? No, I'm doing this for me. And at the end of the day, if I lose friends, that hurts. But actually, it's your loss because I'm awesome and I have a lot to give this world. And you're actually losing out, So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's I just love the whole concept of what you're doing. And I know, even when you were looking for a location to open your store, you were othered then.
Yes.
Nobody wanted to give you the space. I mean, that's crazy. Give me an example of what happened when you started looking for a place to actually physically open up your store.
For sure. So I know I'm close with some of the other non-alcoholic bottle shop owners across the U.S., in New York, in Charleston, South Carolina, and other places. And we've shared these stories. We've had kind of very similar experiences. And look, I've been even ostracized in the alcohol world, where like some of my friends are like, what do you mean you don't drink anymore? What do you mean non-alcoholic? Like, they were like, don't talk to me anymore. And I'm like, okay, like, that's your loss. It doesn't mean I don't like respect wine or spirits. I still have a full liquor cabinet at my house because I spent years collecting it. I still smell them. I just don't drink them, but I'm not triggered by that. So I'm okay with having it in my house.
It's so interesting,
and it's also for people that come over, like friends and family.
Yeah.
If they still drink alcohol, it's here. Like, have some amazing spirits or wine or whatever and enjoy that. Once again, my house is an all-inclusive, community as well. So I think it took 9 months to find a space in Houston. So that's why it took us up until October of 2021 to open. A lot of no's. A lot of people thought we were crazy. Non-alcoholic bottle shop. What does that even mean? They're like, so you sell soda? I'm like, no, I don't sell soda. So sparkling water? No, I don't have a store of just sparkling water. They're like, well, I don't get it. I'm like, okay. So think wine, beer, spirits, aperitifs, adult drinks, but no alcohol. And this happened so many times where I looked them in the eyes and they were like, does not compute, does not. They were just like, they were like, I don't get it, and they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, they're like, so what do you sell? And I'm like, wine, beer, spirits, aperitifs, but no alcohol. They're like, okay, so you get a buzz. I'm like, no buzz. And they're like, who the hell would want to drink that? I'm like, and I say, who would not want to drink that? This is for everyone. Wow. And they're like, huh. And then some of them would start thinking, I'm like, man, I was like, let's just take a second. Let's think about who doesn't drink. Sobriety community, obviously. Women that are pregnant, health conditions, diabetes, cancer, religious. There's a lot of religious communities that don't drink. And then they're like, oh my God, wow, I didn't think about that. I'm like, yeah, it's a huge percentage of people in the US that don't drink alcohol. And they're like, yeah, but it won't make money. And I'm like, oh yes, it'll be a successful business. I was like, look at these reports, look at these articles at that time. So finally, I think we had 6 deals fall through. No joke. 6 deals fall through. 2 I walked away from because they were shady deals. I won't say who they are, but it was shady. It was shady real estate deals. And they try to pull the wool over my eyes. And I told them, this is not my first rodeo. I've opened up a lot of restaurants and bars. I have friends that are in real estate. So we looked this over and we caught a lot of red flags. 4 other deals fell through because at the end of the day, I remember one, we were going to sign the lease that day in the village, actually in Rice Village, and they backed out. They said, nope, like we just, we want like a clothing brand. Like we just don't think it fits with the rest of our tenants. And I'm like, I was crushed. I was like, okay. And it was another, like the 6th one, right? I was just like, man, is anyone going to take a chance on us? So, but I'm a firm and true believer. Everything happens for a reason. And then we found a place like 4 or 5 blocks from the village. Mm-hmm. Wonderful landlord's company. And they were like, sure. They didn't understand it, but they were like, and it was a beautiful space. It's, a hidden gem, lots of free parking, which I love in Houston. That's very hard to come by.
Which is a premium in Rice Village area.
Yes. Sometimes people go, it's so hard to find you. I go, yeah, we're not on a main street, but hey, you have free parking.
Yeah, like, when you get there, you have a place to park.
Exactly. So, and the funny thing was one of my landlords came to me, actually, who doesn't drink alcohol for I think he's like 4 or 5 years sober, but he didn't pick us because of that reason. He told me a month in, he was like, you know what, Danny, you wanted to rent this place from us. And I was like, sure, I'll take your money. Sure. What, that's fine. But he's like, I'll be honest, I didn't think you would do well and make money. But he's like, I see car after car showing up. And he's like, I've been in construction and remodeling for over 30 years. And that's not new, or 40 years. That's not new, right? You're doing something brand new, life-changing, game-changing, groundbreaking. And he's like, you got bigger balls than I do. Wow. I'm impressed. And it's, so it's you see where we finally got the right person to take a chance on us. And then you see that there is that. And a lot of people still are kind of like, oh, so are you going to be around in a month? And I'm like, yeah, this is not a pop-up. This is a thing. This is permanent.
This is a thing. And so the business is doing well. Yes.
Yes. The business, we are so grateful. We are doing well. And every month we're seeing new customers like you, new community members and your daughter. And then they become repeat, right? They tell their friends, they come back, and then it explodes. Yeah. Do we see a surge in dry January? Absolutely. And I also think that is because, circling back, I think that's because people, it's like a pass. dry January's become more of a known, acceptable thing. So like if you tell your friends or your family or your spouse or partner, well, I'm doing dry January, you get less ridicule. Like you get less, criticism and judgment. Oh, okay. I understand. New year, healthy. And so I think a lot of people do it when they really want to maybe do more. And so it's kind of an entryway of people to test the waters. And then they find out, wow, I'm not alone. There's a lot of people that don't drink.
And now there's sober October, right? So, there are other times, or I guess society is starting to catch up a little bit and say make it a little bit more acceptable for those who choose not to drink for whatever reason.
Absolutely. So I always tell people, I'm like, yeah, dry January is great and fine. I wish it was like dry February or March to give me a break after the holidays, but I'll take it. But I'm like, let's talk about other months, right? Let's not talk about like dry January. Let's just talk about March. Let's just talk about a regular month. And it's just about mindfulness, right? So I tell people, I'm like, even if you do drink alcohol, cool. If you're going to like have a glass of Napa Cabernet Sauvignon, right? And you want it with a steak or a portobello mushroom steak or whatever your jam is, that's great. But what is your intention? And I think that's the key, is when you're doing anything in life, what is your intention? If you're drinking to get, drunk, okay, well, then that's your intention. But if you're drinking it because like, I like the taste of this and I want to treat myself to a nice glass of wine, okay, that's moderation. And that's a beautiful thing to strive balance. So I always tell people that's what mindful drinking is just being conscious of what you're drinking and why you're drinking it. Just like food, just like doing yoga, running, anything else that you're doing. And I think that's where the beautiful movement's coming from. Not everyone does that, but I think that's where it comes from, where it's like, why am I doing this? Let me take a step back and like under it. Because I always said it, alcohol was my worst and best friend. It was always there for me. On my big days, promotions, new jobs, pop a bottle. Bad days, let's have a drink. But the sad thing is that friend always left me feeling worse than I felt before. So that's why I had to kick the alcohol friend out of my life. That's for me. And that's why I tell people I live my life alcohol free, which is a difference than being sober, which is a whole other discussion that people are starting to realize as well.
Interesting. Alcohol free versus sober. I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, I get it. So, what's your pie in the sky for Sipple? Well, before you answer that, I want to say this. So I know that you have a lot of different brands that you sell in your store. And I know that you're very selective and you're very picky. And you made a point of telling us that first day when we were in the shop, you said, there isn't anything on these shelves that I have not personally consumed and have not personally put my stamp of approval on, because there are a lot of brands that come at us, but we don't carry everything. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Absolutely. I've been told by like over 36 brands by now that I have the most intense vetting process in the US. And I'm fine with that. I'm happy about that, because it comes from my background being in beverage and hospitality, but it also, integrity is like the most important thing to me. It's integrity and transparency, right? So it's not just about good products. I'm looking for good products, good, clean ingredients. I don't want to see BS on a can or a bottle. Like, I want to know what I'm drinking. Our community does too. But at the end of the day, the deal breaker is the people. I want to do business with good people making good drinks, doing good things. And that's what I say. So for me, I've decided not to do business and partner up with certain brands. They make maybe great stuff or they're a big brand, but we just didn't have alignment or synergy. I want to do business with people that are community focused and community forward, like myself and Sipple is. And for instance, there's 2 celebrity-backed brands, right? Like in the non-op space, there's Dessoir by Katy Perry. She's a part of that. And then there's Blake Lively's company, Betty Buzz. So Betty Buzz is a great example. I treat everyone the same. It doesn't matter who you are. So Betty Buzz reached out to us and they said, they called me, they reached out to me, we really want to be in Sipple. The story goes like this. Blake Lively gave us a list of 4 retailers she wanted to be in the US. Target, right? The big Target is one. Wow. Sipple was another one. And I was like, really? Like, really? Like, is this a sales tactic, right? Like, and they were like, no, this is like, seriously, like, this is why I'm reaching out to you right away. And I was like, okay, I'll believe you. I was like, how does she know of Sipple? And she's like, honestly, I don't know. Maybe this is like their VP of sales. He's like, I know she has friends in Houston, so maybe that's it. But you've also been in national articles, so who knows, you know, like how she came across it. But she really wants to be in Sipple. I go, okay, well, I love that. That's amazing. We're going to treat you the same though. Send samples. I'm going to taste them. I don't stock anything in the store if I don't taste it. And I personally would not drink it. And I don't find it as good. And so then we got down this conversation. I said, well, just so you know, after I taste, it's a deal. It's a non-negotiable thing. I request to talk to a founder or co-founder of the company. I want that personal relationship. So that goes for any brand, and that goes for Betty Buzz as well. I understand Blake is, you know, she's in the media, she's busy, but here's the way I view Blake, Katy Perry, or anyone in the world. You're a person. You're a human being just like myself. You're just in the public eye more, and I can only imagine how that would feel. But at the end of the day, we're all humans, and that's who I want to connect with. And so that's where we are. And there have been some brands that have accepted that, and there's some brands that have pushed back. And I say, I don't treat anyone different. No brand or person gets special treatment for us because, once again, this is a community. Everyone is equal. And that's what we stand for, and we always will. And so we want to be that like trusted source in the non-alcoholic community where, like, if we stock it or we have it at an event, that means something, not only the products, but the people. The people are good.
So did they follow through with Blake?
No. It sounded like it was, but, you know, I didn't get my hopes up. But, you know, they were saying, you know, she co-chaired the Met Gala and she has a new movie. And I said, okay. I was like, you know how to reach me whenever she has like time to do a 10 to 15 minute call. Amazing. And here's the thing. I don't even know if this information was passed along to her. So who really knows? Yeah. But they know how to move forward. And if they're ready to do that, then I'm ready to take that call and do that, because it is great products. But, you know, once again, it's just all about, we're all equal.
You're staying true to who you are, staying true to your mission, and making sure that, you know, that you're doing it the way that you said you would. And that's the end of that. Yeah. So, okay. So now back to my other question. What is your pie in the sky for this company? Where is it going? Where do you want it to go?
Absolutely. You know, I've had a lot of visions and dreams and a lot of stuff. The non-alcoholic space has just transformed it. The landscape changes every month. Like, it's just more brands coming out, more articles, like even national articles that we're in that I know part of. Everyone's like, oh, you were mentioned in this. I was like, that's amazing. Like, I had no idea. So we're so grateful and blessed by the love and support that we received. We don't plan to open up more shops. We entertained that for the last year, talked to a lot of investors, talked to a lot of people. But as from my background in beverage and hospitality for over 20 years and connecting the dots of distribution and big box retailers like Target actually just made a national deal with the non-alcoholic brand. So did Disney. Costco's interested. CVS just expanded their functional beverages and stuff. So we're starting to see it. And Whole Foods is making a big play, H-E-B, Central Market. And I think for the brands in the community, absolutely amazing. Like, that's what we want to see, is awareness and accessibility, right? And that can reach more and more people. Now, for a company like Sipple, we bootstrapped Sipple. We self-funded Sipple. We have no investors. We did all this by ourselves. And it's been a lot of grind and hustle. So when I looked at expanding, I was like, more locations, more money, more headaches, more team members. And I was like, does that align with my soul? And I had to really sit with that, and it didn't, because what we really want to do is much greater than just stores. Because do I think a brand can change drinking culture alone? No. Can a retail company like Sipple change drinking culture alone? No. It takes all sides to do that, and that's the way I approach it. It also takes events, in-person activations for people to taste things, like at a restaurant or bar, an event, to be like, oh my God, this is actually good. That's what I love to hear. They're like, wow, I would actually drink this. Like, this is amazing. And I'm like, and so the funny question in the store I get all the time is this good? Is this good? Is this good? And I just laugh. I go, everything in the store is good.
Everything
I can
in
tell
here
you.
is good, or it wouldn't be in here, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, but I was like, depends on your flavor profile, your style, like what you're looking for.
Right.
So events is a huge aspect of that. And we'll continue to do that. We did South by Southwest last March, which was amazing. We already got asked to do it, next March, doing other events in that space. And then really for me is multimedia, podcasts. So I have my own podcast that's just small and started called By Volume, which is about music and non-alcoholic beverages. And then I'm starting a new podcast that it supports non-alcoholic community, but it's more about transformative medicine as well. And then I've been working on a TV show for the last year, which I'm getting ready to shoot soon, the pilots. And that is all about non-alcoholic culture and transformative medicine too. This is how we change drinking culture. We want to change how people drink and think. And I know in today's society, it's retail, it's social media, Instagram, TikTok, it's podcasts, it's TV shows. And that's really what we're going for, is the more events and multimedia route, because that's where we know where our strengths are. And, some people have asked me, like, did you purposely seek out to be a thought leader in the space? And the answer is no, I didn't. I was just being me. And I got gratefully pushed with a lot of articles, and people came to me because of my story, but also just, how open I am, but also because other people weren't doing it. And that's the thing. I was just like, well, hey, if no one's going to do it, I'll step up and talk about these things, because we need to talk about these things. And I don't need to be the face even of Sipple. I don't need to be the face of one of the faces of the non-alcoholic space and community. I'm just happy to be a part of it. So, but I will stand up and speak up for myself, but I'll speak up for others as well, because I will give myself a voice. And in giving myself a voice, if it gives other people's a voice or gives them courage or inspiration to speak up, that's what it's all about. So like, I want to empower everyone to just be true to themselves, live their true self and true voice. And that's why I've spoke up a lot about me being alcohol free versus sober. And I have a lot of friends that are sober, and I have the utmost love and respect for the sobriety community. And I think a lot of people, assume I'm sober because when I say I don't drink alcohol, and I'm like, no, I just don't drink alcohol. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't serve me. And that's what our shop is, non-alcoholic. You know what I mean? We just focus on that aspect. But speaking up on a lot of standpoints, transformative medicine as well, to let people know this is the brave new world, and it's amazing.
I love how you're bringing in the intersectionality of all of these different aspects of the community that really have to come together in order to affect the kind of change that you're talking about, which is changing the total mindset and culture around non-alcoholic community. Yeah. So I just, wow, my hat is off to you and your wife and everything that you guys have built together. And I'm so happy to know you. I'm really glad you're here in Houston, because you're just 10 minutes away from me. I can go get my daiquirish, which is my favorite drink so far of everything that I've tried. It's just really, really good. Danny, this has been just such a pleasure to talk with you. As we wrap up, just want to ask you if there's anything that you'd like to leave our audience with that I haven't given you a chance to say, that you just are just burning to get out there.
Yeah, for sure. I encourage everyone to just live their life and just be, like come into their own, seek. You're not alone. There are resources out there, and it's hard to speak up and find that, but you're not alone. Vulnerability, once again, is a superpower. So share your story, be true to yourself on your journey. And, if you need someone to talk to, you need resources, please reach out to me, reach out to Sipple, reach out to my email. I am more than happy to connect you because we're all in this together and we're all connected. And the last thing I would love to share is, a part of Sipple in the future is I'm purposely the last 4 to 6 months have been pivoting Sipple into transformative medicine, supporting that. South by Southwest event was that. And transformative medicine, for people that don't know, is psychedelic medicine. And that is a huge, this is the way, this is the future of mental health and healthcare, and recovery. And there's resources out there, which I believe I told you and your daughter, but a good one is Michael Pollan's book, How to Change Your Mind. It's even on Netflix now, a docuseries. And there's a lot more. Aubrey Marcus has an amazing podcast. There's a lot of people out there doing amazing things, talking about these things. And so the future of Sipple is also, I purposely have, bonded it with transformative medicine because they do go hand in hand. If you think about people in recovery, battling mental illness, mental health, addiction or alcohol, drugs is a real thing, is a tough thing. So when we have a shop and a company that finds these beverages that are supportive of whatever your journey is, transformative medicine and non-alcoholic actually go hand in hand. And no one else is really talking about this. And so I'm talking about it louder than if other people were, to people know, like, there is a connection. So Sipple is going to support more transformative medicine companies and groups and events like we've already done. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to create a rainbow bridge. That's what I call it. Because not drinking alcohol or whatever mental health, it's not black and white anymore. And it never should have been black and white. It's a gray area. And I am proud to operate and to live in the gray area. And what I'm trying to do is paint it a rainbow. I am trying to give it color and life. And that's what we're trying to do with Sipple, as well as connected, to show people it's not you're an alcoholic or you drink. There's this huge area that you can live in and be free to live and just be. So I'm happy to share. Can't share too much because it's in the beginning stages, but I will be opening up. I am the co-creator of a transformative medicine center in Texas that's going to open up in the next year or so.
Wow.
And this is going to revolutionize.
Are we breaking news here? Is that what this is?
You are breaking news. I asked my co-creator if I could share this on the air. And
Yay!
So she said
Thank
yes.
you.
So this is something we're bringing and showing people like there is other options. And I can say, for my personal journey, I have processed more trauma, depression, suicide, a lot of things, dependencies, doing journeys in transformative medicine in a 4 or 8 hour session than I have in 20 years of traditional therapy. So there is options out there. And when I was out in California with my parents, they were asking me, I talked to them for an hour and a half. Mind's blown. My dad is a war veteran. He talked to me about different things and stuff. And it's beauty. The world is changing. And so that is the future of Sipple is supporting transformative medicine. And part of my personal journey, my personal growth as well. Sipple will always live. It'll always thrive. It will grow, continue to support the non-alcoholic community always. Like I said, we'll pivot more and transform into more events and especially more multimedia. That's the future. Mm-hmm. But my personal future is in transformative medicine, is to actually be an integration coach and specialist for people to help guide souls and help people find, to welcome them home into the house of their soul. And that is deeper than just mental health. That is finding your true being of who you are. And that's something I've personally have experienced. And I feel called to. This is one of the reasons I've learned one of the main reasons why I'm here is to open up this transformative medicine space, but also help guide people into the house of their souls and to find themselves and just be free and to just be.
Wow. Okay. So you gave me chills. On so many levels. And I can, your passion is palpable, and there's no question in my mind that you are doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And what a pleasure. What an honor to have you on the show. Danny Frounfelkner. I said your name correctly. Yes. Danny Frounfelkner. Yes. You are a blessing, my dear. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story and yourself and just everything with our audience today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being you. I appreciate all that you are and all that you do outside of this podcast and in this podcast, giving voices a platform and letting voices be heard in stories. Because you're right, we all have a story. We all on our journeys, and you're giving an opportunity to share that, to empower people and to connect people, because we're all connected in ways. So I have so much love and respect and admiration and gratitude for you and to you. And thank you. This has just been absolutely amazing. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Danny. Open invitation to come back anytime.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. A big thanks again to Danny Frounfelkner for sharing his passion and his vision with all of us. For more information about Sipple and everything that Danny is up to, just go to our website, ourvoicesmatterpodcast.com, to find links in the show notes. And if you are enjoying the conversations that we share with you here on OVM, please download, like, share, and leave us a review. We love having you as part of our community. Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thanks again to our sponsor, BMW of West Houston. There's a special offer for members of the Our Voices Matter podcast community. Just click the link in the show notes, bmwwest.com.